Hi, welcome to 2 Gauge Farm. My name is Kyla. I had someone request a pizza dough recipe, a sourdough pizza dough recipe. So I actually have a really yummy one that is very forgiving. You can extend rise times if you need to, place in the fridge so it's ready for dinner, freeze for another evening for a easy pizza meal. And it's just really easy to make. So let's get started. I'm gonna start with, what am I starting with? 280 grams of water. And when it comes to bread products, you really should do everything by weight. It just makes the recipes way more accurate than using cup measurements. So this recipe is only in grams. I don't have a conversion for cups, so I apologize in advance for that. 280 grams of water. We're gonna do 500 grams of all-purpose flour. You can also use bread flour if you'd like. .500 grams of flour. .30 grams of extra virgin olive oil. And 15 grams of salt. And 200 grams of Active Sourdough Starter. Now, if you do have sourdough discard that hasn't been fed for like a couple days, you could use sourdough discard right here and it would just rise longer. You would maybe make it before you go to bed and let it rise all over the evening all over the night. And then in the morning, you would check to see if it was done with its first rise and then put it in the fridge for dinner that night. That's also an option here for using discard if you want. If your discard is like over a few days from being fed, like for me, I keep my sourdough discard in the fridge until I want to pull it out and do like a weekly big bake day. But my sourdough starter is actually very verbose, so I can only feed it. I only have to feed it once to wake it up. If your starter is in the fridge for longer than like a week or a few days, it might take a couple feedings to like wake it up. So that might not work if your sourdough discard is older than a few days. Just disclaimer there. So 200 grams of sourdough discard. And I'm a little short because I already made something earlier, but I have a little bit over here of discard that I'm gonna add and everything will be fine. So that's 200 grams there. And I have a little bit. This is how much I'm gonna feed my starter to make it active again. You only need a little bit to feed. You only need a little bit of sourdough starter to feed it, to keep it going. So that's what I'm gonna feed that for my next batch of whatever I decide to make. Okay, so now we're just gonna take a spatula or a mixer of some sort. We're not gonna knead yet. We're gonna autolaze the flour, meaning you're going to let the liquids hydrate the flour for 30 minutes. That timing does not have to be exactly 30 minutes. It could be 45 minutes, It could be 25 minutes, but you really want to let it sit and let the liquids hydrate the flour. And this is going for most bread, sourdough bread-ish recipes, just to make sure you're not adding more flour than you need to. So you're gonna let it, it's called autolaise. So I'm gonna cover this with plastic or a wet towel for 30 minutes. You can go up to an hour here, it really doesn't matter. This recipe is super forgiving. And then we'll put it on the stand mixer, or we'll knead it by hand depending on what equipment that you have. I'll see you back when we're ready to knead it. So real quick, while the flour is doing its hydration thing before we knead it, I wanted to show you how that small amount of starter that I had left in my jar, how I'm gonna feed it. I just poured, I don't really measure very much, but I don't weigh out my sourdough starter before I feed it or anything like that. But the small amount that I had in my jar is plenty to keep my starter going. I just put probably, by the mason jar line, that's probably like 100 grams of water, and I'm shaking it up. And then I'm gonna add enough flour to this that if my spoon or spatula, I lift it up and it's barely moving, like a really thick pancake batter, that'll keep my starter happy and fed and all that good stuff for when I want to use it next time. Little pointer for you. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes while our flour was hydrating, and I didn't tell you before that when I was ending the last video what your dough is going to look like. It's going to look messy. So you're just mixing it enough. You're not doing a heavy mix. You're just mixing enough to combine the liquids with the flour. Like, it still looks messy. So don't worry about that. But it's been 30 minutes, so I'm gonna put it here on my stand mixer with a dough hook. And we're gonna let it mix, or knead, not mix, sorry. You're gonna let it knead. For my KitchenAid, I'm gonna knead it on a 2. That's like a one step up from low. So like low to medium speed is a good mixing speed. If you're kneading it by hand, you're gonna wanna start with 10 minutes of kneading by hand. Really, you want your dough to look smooth and elastic. So I'm gonna let this go for 15 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer, and then I'm going to check the amount of flour. You want your dough to be coming off the sides. It can still be a little bit stuck to the bottom, but really you want it coming off to the side. I'll show you how that's gonna look, but I'm just gonna set a timer here for 15 minutes, let this knead, and then we'll check the hydration level to see if it's too sticky. We're gonna add a little bit of flour, little bits at a time, or if it's ready, but I will check back in with you and show you what the status is when we get to that point. Hi friends. It's been 15 minutes. My dough has been mixing on my stand mixer. It's very wet, so what I'm gonna do, and let me show you by what I mean by wet. I don't wanna turn my mixer on because I didn't tell you guys, but my microphone broke, so I apologize for the echoes and the loud noises. I have to get a new microphone, but that's gonna have to wait till a later day. So what I mean by wet is it is still very sticky. It's not kneading in a ball yet. So to ensure that not too much flour is added at a time, I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour intermittently. So at a time, I'm gonna add a tablespoon of flour, mix it for a few minutes, then come check it, and keep doing that until it starts coming off the side. So right now I'm adding 1 tablespoon of flour. Also, a little pointer if you're new to sourdough, everybody's sourdough starter is going to be fed a little bit different. So not every sourdough recipe is going to be exact flour. It also depends on the humidity level in your area or dryness. It can even depend on how old your flour is, how fresh your flour is, if you're using bread flour versus all-purpose flour. So if you get to this point and your dough is still wet, don't be nervous or anxious or worried about adding a little flour. Just add a little bit at a time. It might take you longer to knead this than it would normally, but it's okay. All I'm saying is it's okay. Don't get frustrated. Just do little bits of flour at a time. You don't want to add a lot at a time, because if you add too much, then it's not. A wetter sourdough bread product works better than a drier sourdough bread product. That's one thing for all sourdough bread products. So I'm going to add my tablespoon of flour, let it mix for a couple minutes, and I'll check back in with y'all. Okay, friends, so I am done kneading this, and I ended up adding around 4 tablespoons of flour. And now, as you can see, here, let me show you. It was coming off the sides of the bowl, and I did the window pane test, which you just grab. It's kind of hard to see this angle, I'm sorry. You grab some of the dough and you stretch it really thin, kind of like you almost can see through it, and it doesn't break. So this is ready, and let me get my hands wet a little bit. I'm just going to reshape it into a ball. So this angle is bad in my kitchen, and then cover it with plastic. But let me get my hands wet really quickly. So I am going to do the first rise in the mixing bowl. And another test that you can do, you can also put some oil on your hands, because this dough is a little sticky, is when you're reshaping it into the ball here, you'll notice how smooth it is. That's another indication that it's done. You're done kneading. So I'm just going to reshape it into a little ball here, and I'm going to cover it with some plastic wrap, and you can also use a wet towel if you'd like. And we're going to do the first bulk rise. I can't tell you a time frame on that, because it depends on how warm your house is, how cool your house is. If your house runs on the warmer side, your dough will rise more quickly. If it's cooler inside your house, it'll rise more slowly. So that'll just depend. And what you can do to test if it's done for the first bulk rise is you can do the poke test. And what the poke test is and I'll show you when my bulk rise is done. But the poke test, if you poke your dough and your fingerprint bounces back at you, your dough still needs to rise some more. So it's not ready. If you poke it and the indent stays, your dough is done with its rise. It's not going to rise anymore, and you can move on to shaping it for its second rise, or if you're on your second rise, then baking, because it works for both first rise and second rise, that little trick. I didn't know that trick for many years making sourdough, and I have made so many overproofed dough or underproofed dough because I didn't understand that little trick. And you can't just assume like, oh, that looks doubled, I guess, it just, once I learned that trick, I was like, oh, I wish I would have known that a long time ago. So I'm going to cover this with plastic and let it double, and I will check back in with y'all when I am ready to shape it into my pizza balls. Hi friends, welcome back. So my pizza dough is ready. It's done with its first rise. What I ended up doing, because it was later in the evening yesterday, I ended up leaving it on the counter to rise maybe for about 3 hours, maybe 2 hours. What time? 2 to 3 hours. And it wasn't close to being ready, so I ended up putting plastic. Well, I already had plastic. I ended up throwing it in the fridge and letting it rise overnight in the fridge. And then it's late afternoon here, and I took it out of the fridge about an hour ago to come up to room temperature, hour and a half ago to come up to room temperature. It's pretty warm in my house right now. It's like around 78 degrees. My ACs have struggling with the Texas heat right now. So it came up to room temperature pretty quickly, and I did the poke test. It bounced back at me a little bit, so I let it sit for a little bit longer, And now it's ready for me to shape into pizza balls. Let me show you by what I mean with for the poke test. I already poked it a couple times. So poke test, if you poke it and it doesn't bounce back at you and it stays the same. So I'm gonna change my camera angle to show you how I shape my pizza dough balls, because this recipe, I like to weigh out and shape my pizza dough balls into 200 grams, because 200 grams will make like a personal size pizza, and then everybody gets their own personal pizza that they can put whatever toppings they want on it. So 200 gram pizza ball, this makes 5 200 gram pizza balls. So it's about 1,000 grams batch recipe. And 200 grams will make like an 8-inch size pizza, personal pizza. If you want like a medium, full size kind of pizza, medium to large, you would just cut this recipe in half, like cut the dough in half. So it'll be like 500 grams approximately, because it depends on how much extra flour you have to end up adding and stuff. And then if you have little kids, you could even do 100 gram balls, and it makes a little kid size personal pizza, which would be fun if you have littles. So I'm gonna change my camera angle and show you the pizza, how I do my pizza balls. So let's go here. Sorry, my kitchen it's challenging to have good camera angles so you can see everything pretty good. So I have let me get this chair out of the way. I have my scale out so I can do the same measurements for each ball. And I'm just gonna take my dough out here, plop it on the counter. If your dough is still a little sticky, you can take out some flour to help with it not sticking to your hands. You want to try to avoid adding more extra flour if you can, but if it's really sticky and you are having trouble, go ahead and grab some flour to help with that. So I'm gonna put this plastic on my scale so I don't get dough all over my scale. Tare it. I have my bench scraper here. I'm just gonna roughly just cut 5 pieces and just see what the weights are. And then I can adjust it. So that's 160. So I'm just gonna take a little bit from each one to get to 200. 202, set it off to the side. This one is 191. 195, oh, that's close enough. 203. 207. And 191. This one was 207, so I'm just going to take a little bit off that one and put it on that, and that's 197. Okay, so now set your scale off to the side and your bench scraper. I do my pre-shaped ball, my pizza dough balls the same way I would shape a sourdough loaf, actually, like the pre-shape. So you just want to create some surface tension and pull it along the counter. Now, if you do add too much flour, at this point, it would be hard for your counter to grab the dough and to create that surface tension. That would be hard at this point. So try not to add flour, because it would be challenging to do these pre-shaped pizza dough balls on the counter. So we're gonna do it again. So there's my 5 dough balls. I am going to leave this on the counter. You can cover it with some plastic and or a wet towel, just something so it doesn't get dried out. You want to preset your oven to 550 degrees, and you're going to heat your oven and either your pizza stone. You can use a cast iron skillet or a cast iron pizza pan. You want to preheat, if you're using a stone or a cast iron pan, you want to let them preheat for an hour at 550 degrees. So I have a pizza stone, and then I also have a cast iron pizza pan. But you can also use like a 12-inch or 14-inch cast iron skillet if you have one of those as well. That is seasoned, is seasoned really well, the cast iron seasoning. And just make sure, the most important thing to make sure you get a good, nice, crispy bottom on your pizza, on the crust, is to make sure that those pans are preheated for an hour at 550 degrees. And then you only end up cooking it for, depending on the oven, anywhere from like 7 to 12 minutes. And then what I usually do is I'll broil it for like 30 seconds just to get a nice crisp on the top before I pull it out. But I'll show you that when, because I'm gonna make a pizza with you too. And what's really cool is with the 200-gram dough balls, it makes like a personal size little calzone too, or I had extra pizza dough. I actually ended up making this recipe twice yesterday because part of it I had to re-record because I messed up on a part of it. So I had to make the batch twice. So I have a ton of pizza dough right now, which is fine. What I do is I take each pizza ball and dough ball and I wrap it in plastic, and I'm gonna put this in the freezer. So if you do end up freezing your pizza dough, you just want to pull it out and let it come up to room temperature before you try to make it. It has to be at room temperature for it to work. You can also leave these in the fridge for I would do up to 3 days. Keep in mind that sourdough, when it sits in the fridge, if you don't know, it'll continue to ferment. It's slow fermenting, but it'll continue to ferment. So the longer it sits in the fridge, the more sour it'll become. So just keep that in mind. I'm gonna put this in the freezer because I don't need this much pizza dough in I love pizza, it's one of my favorite foods, but I don't need to have more pizza this week than I've already had. I've had a lot of pizza, trying out different recipes for y'all. And so that's just some little pointers there. My oven is not ready. It's still preheating. It has maybe about 30 more minutes. Hi friends, it is time to make pizzas. So my oven has been on for a little over an hour preheating the pizza stone, and 30 minutes into that hour, I took one of the balls and I kind of did a pre-shape and let it sit on my counter because it was trying to bounce back at me a little bit. So I went ahead and pre-shaped it to let it sit. So that will be my pizza round. This one will be the calzone. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-shape this one in a round just in case I'm sorry, I'm not even on the camera. Let me change my angle a little bit. Just so if it needs to, let me move these balls over. If I need to let it rest too, it will. So I did put a little bit of flour on my counter just to keep it from sticking for when I pick it up. Yeah, it needs more flour. So at this point you can add more flour. So this dough is bouncing back at me a little bit. So whenever dough bounces back at you, you want to let it rest after you do try to shape it. Let it rest for like 10 more minutes, and then it should relax enough for you to shape it. So this one, while the other pizza, the regular pizza, is cooking, this will just rest on the counter to make it easier for me to work with. So I'm gonna take my stone out of the oven and I'll show you that. Really hot. I usually will put a skillet on my stovetop just to put the stone on it while I am topping it and stuff. So let's do that. Okay, I had to stop it for a second, but I have my pizza stone out and I am going to sprinkle some medium grind cornmeal down on the stone. That is going to ensure that the dough doesn't stick to the pizza stone. That's totally plenty. Let me put my dough on there. Be careful, this is very, very hot. And I make my pizza sauce at home it's very easy to do, using tomato sauce and tomato paste. You just simmer it. If anybody wants that recipe, let me know. I can put it out, or I can do one or put it out there. I can a bunch of tomatoes every season, so I usually just have a bunch of tomato sauce around. And it's handy to keep tomato sauce around because then you can make your own marinara sauce or enchilada sauce or anything like that. And it's really, really easy to do as well. So I have a bunch of toppings out here. I'm gonna get a little creative because, like I said, I've been doing a lot of pizzas this week. So if just so you know, if y'all have a, sorry about the camera angle, if y'all have a Costco membership, you can buy a pack of 2 big mozzarella packs for like $8, and it's really good. It tastes really yummy, and if you don't use both packs at the same time, mozzarella is really easy to freeze. You can freeze soft cheeses pretty easily. You just can't, hard cheeses like sharp cheddar and stuff isn't really that good to freeze, but you can freeze mozzarella cheese pretty easily. I like it cheesy. So I'm gonna do a little bit like that. And then I know there's a debate on whether pineapple should go on pizza or not. And it totally should. Pineapple should totally go on pizza. So I'm gonna mix it up because we've been doing like basic traditional pizza toppings, and I have some ham, just like some sliced honey ham that I had in my fridge. So I'm gonna do some ham. And I'm gonna do some pineapple. And I am one of those people that says pineapple absolutely should go on a pizza. It's delicious, especially if you have like a salty element, like the ham or pepperoni or sausage, but it's so good. Also, if you have like a spicy element, like jalapenos. I did, the other night I did regular jalapenos, like pickled, like hot pickled jalapenos that I canned. Last season, I think, and it was good. Tonight, I'm gonna do cowboy candy, which is like a sweet and sour candied jalapeno, just because I want to switch it up and try something different today. And so this will be super yummy. You could always still use salami if you have salami. Because, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't just keep pizza toppings just around. And pizza's kind of one of those things that you just like want to throw in the oven like last minute or order last minute. So if you already have all the stuff to make it, like the dough in the fridge or in the freezer, you can pull it out and then have like all the other ingredients laying around. Super awesome. I still have some more toppings. Okay, I'm gonna pop this in the oven I'm gonna set a timer for 7 minutes, and then I'm gonna check it to see if it is getting golden brown. And then I'll either leave it in for a couple more minutes, or at that point, then I'll broil it for 30 seconds to a minute, and I'll let you know how it comes out. It's ready to come out of the oven. So let's pull it out. Give your oven a minute, because it's gonna be hot on your eyeballs. I actually got it a little bit darker than I wanted it to. I did like 30 seconds too long to broil, but it'll still be really tasty. And we'll still eat it. It'll be yummy. I have right here, I'm gonna leave the oven on right now because I'm gonna show you the calzone. Right here, I like to heat up a little bit of butter and chopped garlic, and I'll brush that on the pizza when it comes out on the crust. A little garlic butter, and then sprinkle some of the garlic actually and the butter on the pizza. That's super yummy. I'm gonna take this off this stone and I'm gonna put it on this cutting board right here. Slide that off. And let me go ahead and clean up this stone and get it ready for the calzone so I can show you the calzone. Okay, for the calzone, I'm gonna put down some more cornmeal. It's kind of a lot. You don't really need that much. And I'm gonna just do that for now so it's folded. I didn't make this pizza dough like perfectly round, but you can just stretch it out. So we're gonna put some sauce down. I don't have a lot of sauce left, but we will make it work. And I'm gonna do some cheese. I'm gonna make this one like a meat lovers. Some Italian sausage. Some pepperoni. I'm gonna put some ham in there too. Put some more cheese. And I am also gonna put some fresh basil in here. I'm just gonna rip it up. Normally I just use scissors. I don't chop basil, I'll just use scissors and slice it into little strips, but my scissors are all the way on the other side of the kitchen. So I'm just gonna rip it up with my hands and distribute the best I can. So that will be yummy. I'm gonna fold it over and I'm just gonna pinch it together on the ends. Be very, very careful. Don't touch the pizza stone. It's really hot. It'll hurt really bad if you do that. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pop it in there for 7 minutes and check it and then see how I need to adjust the time. We're looking for a golden brown. ready. For your calzone, I forgot to mention this. Lower your oven down to 500 for your calzone because you want it to get more golden brown all around, not so much just on the top, which is what happened to mine because I forgot. It's still yummy. I'm gonna set this down right here on my skillet that I have. And I am going to brush this with some garlic butter as well. And it will be super duper yummy. And there you go. It is going to be super delicious. So let me know if you try these recipes. Let me know how you like them. Sorry again about the camera angles, I keep saying that, but it was just challenging for me today. I appreciate y'all stopping by and hanging out with me in my kitchen today. It's been really hot in Texas, so I've been inside a lot. If anyone has any other recipes they would like me to show you, let me know. Let me know how you like this. If you have any questions about the recipe, please also drop me a comment. If you enjoyed this recipe, you enjoyed my videos, please like it, share it, subscribe. It helps us out with the algorithm. Thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us. I hope you have a fantastic week and a blessed day, and I will talk to y'all later.